Honestly, it's just the biggest thing I've always noticed is the brutal honesty, right? A lot of people, can't handle it usually, and see many people, leave because of it. But that's what you need, right? You need somebody who's going to not, sugarcoat stuff, and feed your ego to make you think that you're better than what you really are, and put you in your place. So I think that's one of the biggest things is an accountability when it comes down to it, right? And a big thing is like, we call it the Brotherhood, but just how well everybody can kind of get together. I can't say a lot from the retreats because I haven't been to one, unfortunately, yet. The timing hasn't worked out, but I always see, after the retreats, everybody talking about them, how everybody always wants to go back. And then just in the group chat, stuff like that, just the relationships, obviously. It just made it easy to communicate, connect with people. And once you see the people that start getting comfortable and vulnerable, right? Like you get to understand and relate to people a little bit better. It's not just somebody putting on a second, personality and pretending to be somebody they aren't. They become vulnerable and you start to see who they really are. Then you can relate because you may have went down that same path that they've been down. So you can really connect with them and help them, get back on the right path or anything like that. I've definitely pinged in plenty of people in the groups of just advice in general, whether it was life advice, business advice, whatever it may be, somebody likely has already experienced it and can at least give you some feedback, right?
Yeah, man, 100%, dude. Man, it's been a really cool journey, like seeing this come to fruition and like what it's evolved to. And honestly, it's gotten, significantly deeper and more impactful than I think a lot of us could ever have realized, at the beginning of it. But man, why don't you, before we hop into it, like, why don't you tell the guys who you are, what we do, and then we'll just get right in.
Yep. So name's Josh Moulton. I'm from pretty much middle of nowhere, Illinois. Easiest way to say I'm not from Chicago. I'm closer to St. Louis. Been in IT is whenever I started my career, kind of ventured into entrepreneurship, flipping phones and the electronics industry for quite a while. This led me into where I'm still kind of involved with that industry, but more on a technical level and systems level. I'm what I guess they'll call today a vibe coder. Went from not being a programming person to just building systems and different applications, MVPs, stuff like that for different companies now.
That's awesome, bro. Yeah, you're definitely on the nerdier side of Uncaged, and that's what we love about you, bro. It it's always funny, dude. I think I get technical sometimes in my conversations, and then here you come, and I'm like, what the fuck is he even talking about? I love it, bro.
Yeah.
Man, so something you said earlier, talking about like the brutal honesty and the group, and I think that's it's refinement, right? Because oftentimes we see people act out of character when either they get desperate for something or you don't like what's being said, right? Like, I don't know where this sense of entitlement comes from or what, but like a lot of times when you see people get pissed off, it's because they're upset at something, right? Arguably. But a lot of times it's not the person that said it, it's the truth behind what's being said, right? That you'll see people like just go ape shit. And like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like you can lie to us, you can lie to your spouse, you can lie to your friends, your coworkers, your employees, other members of Uncaged, but like when you lay your head down at night, you can't lie to yourself. And it's been an interesting perspective, like you said, to watch kind of Uncaged turn into this because you have a group of men that tell each other what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And you're right. And sometimes it has caused friction. And even sometimes I was actually talking about this on a call, on an onboarding call yesterday, that in the 3, 4 years that we've been doing this, 4 years now, I could probably count like maybe 10 or 15 like quote unquote arguments that have really like I was like, oh fuck, this might be a problem. And like I've gone to like interject myself and I was like, well, hold on, hold on, hold on. Let's just see how this unfolds. Like these are fucking grown men, right? And dude, 95% of the time, so only once or twice is it like technically gone sideways. Every other time one of those members has come back and be like, holy shit, they were right. Like, you know, we got on a call, we got on a Zoom, whatever, like we chopped it up. He gave his perspective, I gave mine. We had a call or a conversation about it, and holy shit. And so it's been really cool to kind of see that transition on like some of the guys that are here for the wrong reasons or here for the right reasons. And one of the big things that's come out of that to my attention is you don't ask members of this group a question without fucking knowing like what type of response you're gonna get. Like you're not coming here to get co-signed on dumbass shit, bro. Like you're coming
Yeah.
for real intentional feedback. And for me, it's just been incredible to see that like all unfold.
100%. And to go back, actually, what you started with, and you're talking about like, somebody getting upset, like they're upset because you hit that one thing that they know that is like their weakness, right? And like you hit it, and that's why they're upset. And like they know that, but they're not willing to admit it still. Like they will still fight you over it. But yeah, I mean, it's to get the feedback and stuff, like 100%. If you're asking a question, you better be prepared for the real feedback because you're not getting, oh, that looks great. You're gonna get Stoller style. Well, that looks like shit. You need to do X, Y, Z. Here, why didn't you do this? Or why didn't you think about this? Like, and it's not an attack, right? It's like, hey, you need to think about things, like this is the critique, critical feedback that you need to get to make yourself better, to, get better results. And people who are succeeding already at doing that is who you're trying to take this advice from, right?
Yeah, man, it's been really cool because like kind of to your point, typically when like some of the harder feedback comes along, and I can see where frustration starts to set in for some people. And again, this is like an overlying theme where like friction happens, there's refinement, and then something better comes out on the back end. But it's always that friction point where like some people haven't been conditioned to it, and so they start to freak out. It's like that frame of the veteran. But even in that point, when feedback is given, and it can be critical feedback, right? Doesn't mean it's criticism, but like it is critical feedback. What's been really cool is it's not always like, go do what I say because I am who I am and I say to do things. It's it's like, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man a fish, feed him for a lifetime. It's cool because you see these guys when they do come in to help, they get them starting to think outside of the box. They get them to start thinking more critically for themselves, and allow them to come up with the actual answer on their own instead of it just being like, jump. Well, how high? Like it's like, no, like this is the due process. This is what works. This is how you get to a solution, but at the end of the day, it's up to you to find that solution.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's, somebody makes a suggestion, or why didn't you think of this, or why don't you look at this? And they're like, oh shit, yeah, I never thought about that. And then, like it could take you down a whole different path you never even would have considered had you not asked for feedback, or you had not, talked to them and been like, hey, what do you guys think about this? This is a new ad campaign I'm working on, or whatever it may be. You may see something from them that you're not going to look at otherwise because again everybody's got different experiences, so just because you do things a certain way and you think it's the best way, somebody else may have already found something else that's working a little bit better that you could tweak something with, right? It's not rewrite everything and do everything different just because they're doing it that way, but if it could add a little bit of benefit or fix things for you, then what do you have to lose, right? It's a matter of trusting that somebody's actually already seen it and they've seen the success from it. So,
Mhm. And someone like yourself, like you have a very high level, skill set that not many people have. And so like it's not necessarily now some of the industries are like specific tactical questions on, things like building out an automation system or a funnel or this or that, or how to launch an ad campaign. Like there are some tactical piece of advice, but like, no one's really teaching you how to write code. But like when it comes to like, a problem solution path, like there is a pretty standardized way to like say, all right, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. Here's what I have tried so far. And it's wild that like some of these answers will come from the most unlikely places, and some of it is just like having a different perspective. And that's the beautiful thing about having so many members, all different personalities and perspectives. And right. And at the end of the day, we're all consumers too. So like it's like our own little case study because, sometimes we get too close to, the project. Like I was joking yesterday, like I went to art school for college and I was working on this piece of art that I was like, dude, I was like 30 something hours in on this project and I could not push it across the finish line. And finally, I was like, dude, I'm fucking starving. I got to go get some food. I left the house and I came back like 25 minutes later and I was like, oh my God, it's right. The answer's right there. And then done in 30 seconds. And so a lot of times, like having these different perspectives from members in the group, whether you might be like, oh, my business is fucking different, or they're not in my industry, or
Yeah.
XYZ, all these other excuses. It's like, bro, at the end of the day, we're all problem solvers, and all you're doing is you're facing a singular problem that needs to be solved. So, like, how do we brainstorm this?
Yeah. Yeah. Just like you said about like, walking away on that art project. I mean, I feel like it's the same way, in a similar concept of working on something and it's a project maybe, and I get frustrated. I'm just like running in circles, right? And it's like, go focus my attention somewhere else for 10 more minutes, 20 minutes, go do something, just kind of like let my brain like reset and then come back. And like you said, like 9 times out of 10, something always clicks. And it's like, how did I not even, because you just you're so worked up and then you get tunnel vision, I feel like.
Hmm.
And then you're like, oh, I'm going to fucking get this. This is,
Right.
I've got it. I've got it figured out. And you make the problem worse usually, the deeper you go.
You're right. Yeah, no, for sure. And that's what's always fun about this is like, I wouldn't even think of like how to coach you through doing some of the work that you do. However, a lot of creatives, and even though you're very like analytical, because like the coding that you do, like it is still a creative process, in my opinion, right? And so like I kind of relate things like even when I'm on the back end, like building automations and stuff, like it's very, I don't know, almost soothing to me the creative processes behind it, but I also like equate it to like random things and like they sound so polarizingly different, but like when you start to really think about getting into flow state, like writing a book or like playing an instrument or like building the motor of a vehicle, right? Like, these things are so vastly different, but like when you start to like really think about the problem solution process, we really kind of flow along some of the same lines. And there is a lot of gray area on like left brain, right brain, like creative side, analytical side. And so, like, albeit like I might not be able to help you with specific coding situations, just like, some of the guys in the group that are detailers, might not be able to help me build automations. But at the end of the day, like, what we do is a similar process like when they get in their flow state of like buffing a car and like whatever. And so it's like kind of crazy how some of these monumental changes or thought process shifts will come from the most unlikely of places, and it fucking works.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, it does apply to anything, right? It doesn't. It may not seem like it does, but if you break it down to, the skeleton of everything, it applies to anything you're doing. Like you're saying, the detailers, their buffing is the same as me sitting down trying to think about the process or my workflow that I'm getting ready to do for this app, or anything is the same concept whenever you step back and just look at the big picture of it.
Yeah, 100%. Something else you said was like, talking about the relationships you make inside the group. Um, it's crazy how they come to fruition, and like it allows us to not only kind of do life together, but it helps and that like, fulfills us on like a personal level. But like it's been really cool to see people from a professional standpoint start doing business together, some even going into business together and things of that nature. And one of the things like on our call today, we got two guys out in Vegas together doing business. And the cool thing was with us we've spent years getting to know each other. And so like a lot of the business that gets done, people are already past the know, like, and trust stage. Like we're a few levels deeper than that and like really know each other intimately and our families know each other. And so it's really not even a hot lead anymore. It's like a super hot lead, right? But what's also cool about that is there's other refinements and pieces of benefit that can come through those relationships, specifically being rooted in accountability that really kind of are added levels of value that no one really thinks about. For example, is like they're gonna do business again, irregardless of the turnout. Like, one of the guys could completely shit the bed and he's not gonna stop till he makes it right, but like that's not gonna end that relationship. So like what's cool about it is now each other gives to give the other super hyper specific feedback on the worst experience they had with them, right? And it gets to come from a place of love, but that becomes invaluable to the other because, for me, from a marketing standpoint, like, we're always focused on strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so this gives us a real good opportunity to be like, as we're all consumers. So as a consumer doing business with you, here's what I did not like. Here's what I think could have been better. Here's what I loved. And here's what I think like you're in the right track, but like maybe you're not there yet. And like that level of tweaking and that level of comfort to be able to do business with each other and kind of pull down some of those walls of like stressful and anxiousness and kind of step more into that playful, creative environment and like kind of getting back to where you enjoyed doing this in the first place has really been eye-opening for me specifically, but it's been cool to see other members kind of come through that. But like, what are your thoughts on like seeing the value of being able to like get instant feedback through people like out of that caliber? Like, do you think that's something that would be beneficial for you, or like where do you see that kind of playing its role in your life in the future?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I probably don't leverage it as often as others, but I mean, I see it being leveraged all the time. There's something always being discussed in chat. There's always posts happening. There's always people giving feedback. So there's always something happening. It's never quiet, right? So like there's always something going on, and that's just, what I'm seeing. That's not what's going on behind the scenes in the other DMs, right? Phone calls, FaceTimes, Google Meets, Zooms. There's other things happening. And that's just, that's on top of it. So I think it's so invaluable, right? Because again, I've leaned on multiple people, again, in DMs or even in the chats, but like it's all been feedback that's helped me get further with major decisions in my life and in business, and these people have been through similar steps, and without their feedback, I'm not saying I wouldn't be here or I would nothing would have changed, but like having that feedback put me in a better place to make these decisions, and know that I was going the right way, I was going down the right path, or it helped me know that okay, this is the right way to go because I'm hearing the same feedback from multiple people. I was worried that I wasn't making the right decision, but at the end of the day, listening to them and going with my gut was the right decision, right? So I think that there's many instances like that, and again, I see it day in with all the members in chat even. So I mean, it goes without saying that that's all the time, right? I'm not, it's not AI happening in chat, but it may as well be because there's always something happening. There's always a good discussion happening, feedback. I don't know. I mean, it's just, I don't think it's ever stopped since we've started,
It has not,
right?
bro.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not that I don't have it muted. Like a lot, I have all my stuff on like D&D anyways. But like I know a lot of people when they join, they're like, "Oh, I got to mute these notifications." And my wife thinks that I'm cheating on her. Whatever.
Right.
There's messages going off at 11 o'clock. We're laying in bed.
Yep.
So yeah.
That is like rule number one of onboarding is like mute the fucking chat, bro. Like it goes bananas 24/7. But to your point, like, that's what's cool is having like what is the value of having access to men in your back pocket 24/7 that's not, an AI, that's not anything other than specific, targeted real life, questions being answered by real life humans. And that's what's cool too, is like, as you start to like kind of unpack what's happening, is when specific questions get asked, they get very direct answers. And those answers are always, I don't want to say always, but when they come from people that have like it's not based in theory. Now, what worked for them may not work for you, but it did work for them. And so, to your point earlier, is what I like to see about this is like it should be all of our objectives to go further and faster than the people that came before us, right? Because like we have direct access to some of the people that have done some of the cool things that we're trying to do, so they can give us the roadmap. Unfortunately, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So like you have some guys that never ask those questions, and so therefore they never get the result that maybe they had hoped for. But man, like the value of being able to have that, and the value of being able to have, and we got a few guys that I've talked to in the last little while that are even in some of the higher up levels with like, their professional coaches and stuff that have said like kind of the same thing. And like at first it made me nervous, to be fully honest. Like it was like, yeah, man, like I met with my mergers and acquisitions coach, or I met with my franchise coach, and you know, I spent an hour with them, and they're like, yeah, man, you're on the right track. And I was like, oh shit, like you spent all this time like giving them this where you are and these updates and going over what you did the last 30 days, what you plan to do over the next 30 days. And you kind of got an attaboy. And that's obviously not the case. That's a condensed version of what came out of it.
Yeah.
But they're like, yeah. And I was like, oh fuck, is this good or is this bad? And they're like, dude, I can't tell you how awesome it is to have someone to be a sounding board and just to reinforce like, hey bro, you're headed in the right direction, you're doing the right things. And I was like, oh shit, like that is valuable. And like,
Yeah.
so many men don't have access to something like that.
Yep. No, agreed. I mean, and that's the thing is, even if it is that attaboy, it's a matter of knowing that again, these are not people that are not faking it, right? These aren't people you're trying to like, oh, I see them posting on Instagram next to their roles or their lease, whatever. Like these are people that they've truly done something and they've made something for themselves. Whether it was on their own, whether it's through partners, whether it's through selling a company, whatever it was, they've all done something to show for themselves. And that's why you respect them and take the advice from them, whether they're the sounding board or not. It's not, and to lead up to that and to say, like, oh, they didn't give me feedback. That says a lot of coming from, maybe a step down where they're, moving up. That means they've already been doing all the right things to lead up to that point, right? It's not that like, oh, they're just gonna wash it off and like, oh yeah, you're doing good. Yep. Just not paying attention to you, just washing it off. No, it's like, hey, yeah, you got your shit together. You have been doing it right. Yeah, keep it up. Let's meet again and whatever, and we're gonna build the next level for you, right? Like you're doing it right. Let's get you to the next level and let's start building that plan now.
Right. No, 100%. And yeah, that is some of the things that like as you start to get into some higher end levels, like some of these moves they just take longer. But the cool thing
Mhm.
is like the deals become bigger, right? There's a few guys that I've been talking to over the last couple of weeks, pretty intimately about their businesses and where they are. And I mean, they're doing insane numbers. Some of them are doing, nine figures. And to hear how they operate and to hear how like they hyperfixate on specific goals, and then they create the targets to achieve them, and then they just trust the process, bro. Like along
Yeah.
the way, like they might be albeit confused or they might be stumped or whatever, but they fucking know that the only way to fail is by stopping where they're at. Like as long as they're continuing on, and that's also been what's really cool to come you know, into fruition from the group, is like just having that motivation of knowing that you're around other disciplined men that aren't quitting, that aren't giving up. It like just gives you that like extra little like push you need to kind of get your own shit together
Yep.
and hit those targets and then eventually reach those goals.
Agreed. 100%.
Yeah, man. And it's been really cool too. So like It's funny, like, you're big into AI and stuff like that. I talk with Chat GPT all the time, and it's funny because like it'll be like, where's your pacer at? And like I never even gave it that, term, but there had been a story, I even wrote about it in my book, but like, I've leveraged this story multiple times of this Ivy League school that brought in their track team, and they told them, like, they lied to them, told them they were going to break these world records. I mean, technically, I guess they did, but they said they were going to break these records. And so they brought their sprinters out, and they made their sprinters just run as humanly fast as possible. And then they came back and they showed them their time. And then made them turn around and immediately run again, right? So like they're gassed. They left everything on, like they thought they were racing for this like world record. So they raced again, just completely like tanks on empty. But because they had seen the target, they beat their previous record. And so they ran this simultaneously with all the members blindly, all the team members blindly. But then what they did is they came and so still gas, still everything on E. Then they put two people side by side, no times or nothing, but they just put them. Now they've now ran twice back to back, but then they got put side by side and raced against each other. And then they beat their own previous best records. And so, like, to have these like pacers, if you will, just like from healthy competition and be like, dude, we're gonna fucking hit our target. Who's gonna hit it first? I don't give a fuck. I just know we're both hitting our targets. Has been really cool. And so like, chat like calls it like, the my pacer, like, where's your pacer at? Like, who's running beside you and shit. And it's been cool because like that's truly what is unfolding inside of Uncaged.
Yeah. No, I like that. I'd never heard that before.
Yeah, man, it was a pretty cool discovery when I like started, reading through the study and just seeing the perspective, because like, yeah, we're all, and what was cool for me, because it was like, obviously it's rooted in accountability for my perspective of it, but like, I'm a very competitive person, and I'm also internally competitive. So I'm always battling myself. Like, I'm always wanting to improve. I'm always wanting to, take it to the next level. But like, it's kind of like that whole, like, working out alone. Like, I can go in the gym and I can push myself, but if you and I
Mhm.
hit the gym together, bro, it's night and day difference, man.
Yep.
And like, in my head, I'm like, where the fuck have I been this whole time? Like, because I swear in my head in the gym alone, I'm fucking doing the work like this. But then you
Yep.
get there and you're like, oh, bro, this is a completely different arena.
Yep. No, you're not wrong there. I've been part of that myself, and I've seen it, many times with people who, setting PRs of, like, oh, I can't do it. I was just here last week, and but again, they weren't here with people hyping them up or anything, and get it up, no problem. They're, in their head thinking they can't do it.
It's crazy how powerful the mind is, bro.
Yep.
Yes, yeah, it's the whole 4 minute
100%.
mile, dude. It's, it was all impossible till it wasn't.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Yeah, speaking of that, another random side note is I'll have to go back and fact check myself, but a couple of weeks ago, I like read the headline of an article that someone ran a marathon, and their whole marathon was a sub 4 minute mile. Yeah, like, talk about booking it, bro. Like, so, it's crazy what we can do when, we finally believe in ourselves, to your point, like, just mentally, like, being able to believe that, like, like you were talking about on the gym, like, oh, I failed on this last week, it's only been a week, there's no way. But like, mentally we can control pushing ourselves to that limit. And whether that's personal or professional, like, having those pacers in place, and kind of putting those guardrails up so you don't get too far off track, has been monumental in my own life. And I can see it in other Uncaged members' lives, like how dramatically different it's changed the trajectory of their life.
Yeah.
But, well, bro, I appreciate your time. I want to be, cognizant of what we've spent together and respectful of yours.
Yeah.
What's something that we can do to pay you back for the time you spent here today with us?
Nothing. Give me warm weather.
Hey, man, it's sunny and 64 today, so I'm about to go bask in it.
38, and that is the high today, but there are some 40s in the future, it looks like. So the snow will be melting soon.
Well, I'll do what I can, man. Me and my hot
Yeah.
air, but um, well, bro, I really appreciate you
Yeah.
guys. If you are listening, if y'all ever want to connect with Josh, reach out to him directly. He'd be more than happy to have that conversation. Or if you can't locate him, reach out to myself or any other Uncaged member. We'd be more than happy to make an introduction. Other than that, we appreciate y'all for listening. We'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.